If you haven't seen it already, Homelander was recently added to Mortal Kombat 1, and can I just say, it is so freaking cool that he and Omni-Man are in the same game together. NRS is no stranger to delivering long-awaited dream matches between iconic characters like Alien and Predator and MKX, and Terminator and RoboCop and MK11. Omni-Man and Homelander is my favorite dream match that they've done for a couple of reasons. Number one is I am a huge comic book shill, so anything comic book related being in a video game instantly excites me, especially Mortal Kombat 1 since there are 3 comic book characters, and hopefully they add a couple more before things wrap up, wink wink. And number 2, these two became insanely popular really fast, very recently, almost simultaneously. Where the other characters have been well known for decades, Omni-Man and Homelander only recently became household names within the last 5 years, and in those 5 years, they have constantly been pitted against each other in non-stop debates about who would win in a fight, and most importantly, which one of them could stand a chance against Superman, which is funny to me. How can Superman beat Omni-Man or Homelander when he couldn't even beat the freaking Suicide Squad? That sounds like a fraud to me. You're a fraud, Superman. I'm sorry to say, you're washed, I fear. I'm just kidding, Superman. I love you so much. Please come back soon. Anyways, through the power of Mortal Kombat, we can now answer who would win in a fight for ourselves. And I truly adore how they have been adapted and represented in this game. When Amazon Italy initially leaked them, I was ecstatic to think that they were going to be in Mortal Kombat, especially together. And I was so happy to see them actually appear in the first Combat Pack trailer. But my excitement was not that common of a sentiment from what I saw online in the MK community at the time. There was a decent amount of expressed concern that we were getting 2 evil Supermans who would play a lot like Injustice Superman, and I never understood that. Other fighting games not named Guilty Gear get numerous variations of the same archetype. Street Fighter having a bunch of Shotos, or Tekken with a handful of Mishimas. I mean, even Kuma is a Mishima now. And that's freaking awesome. Plus, NRS has done 3 Kryptonian characters already, and none of them play like each other at all. And number 2, they're not just evil Superman. They never were. I know that that's what they're based on. They even have their own knockoff Justice Leagues, okay? I can acknowledge that. But they are very different characters from each other and Superman himself. They don't all have the same powers, they have completely different backgrounds and beliefs, and they definitely do not fight the same. Plus, to me, Omni-Man and Homelander are much greater than their shared influence. They've grown way past it. We've seen actual evil Superman before, and he is boring as hell. Character-wise, he is easily the least interesting out of the 3. Oh no, I accidentally killed my pregnant wife because I was struck by a cliff. Shut the fuck up, you crybaby. Jesus Christ. He's also, in my opinion, the least interesting fighting game character out of the 3. In Injustice, he is a strong character, thanks to this stupid ass move, and he does use all of his powers like lasers, ice breath, flight, and all of the typical Superman stuff you'd expect. He's very straightforward, he's not the most skilled fighter, but he knows how to use his tools. But for a guy who has no problem killing people and is viewed as the most powerful specimen in his universe, he's not really that guy, you know? He doesn't have that killer instinct to him. He doesn't feel fast, and he feels like he's barely hitting you when he does. A lot of that is due to how Injustice animates and sounds, but yeah, those components are what make me think less of Injustice Superman. Not his capabilities or his skill set, but how it is expressed in this game. Omni-Man and Homelander are completely different beasts of their own, however, and I think Mortal Kombat 1 does a fantastic job of thoroughly representing these two through their gameplay, which would be hard to talk about if I didn't contextualize their gameplay with who they are as characters. First one up is Omni-Man. Pre-Mark Encounter Omni-Man, to be specific. Omni-Man did not grow up on Earth. Things like love and compassion are complete unknowns to him. He is a full-on Viltrumite, a ruthless species hell-bent on conquering the galaxy, and they are not merciful. Their brand of brutality is incredibly scary. They do not partake in basking in victory or watching something suffer for sick kicks. If they can kill you, they will do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And with their natural powers, they are practically impossible to contest. Even if you were to take their powers away, they are still, at their core, immaculate warriors. They are incredibly skilled in hand-to-hand, and they are very intelligent. Flight and super strength and super speed are just bonuses for these motherfuckers. So, how do these elements factor into Omni-Man's gameplay? Well, he is a very precise fighter thanks to his warrior background. His default stance is squared up with his fists cocked and ready to fire. A good chunk of his strings are fast, deliberate, and concentrated attacks, and he is not holding back at all. He wants your ass dead. His forward 3 and down 4 having hitting the ground so hard that debris erupts from the ground. He's a freaking earthbender, bro. His sweep is vicious. He punches your ankles out from underneath you and slams your face into the ground immediately. Just this move alone emulates Invincible's signature brand of violence perfectly, and the biggest component of Invincible's violence, more specifically Omni-Man's, is speed. How quickly he can move and how quickly he can fuck you up is terrifying. NRS has worked with fast characters before like Flash, Superman, Supergirl, and Cabal. To me though, Omni-Man feels like he moves the fastest out of all of them. He doesn't have the best walk speed or best frame data, but when he moves, he fucking moves, man. And it's because of all of the small touches. The air around him rippling, the sound barrier breaking as he takes off, and most importantly, giving him actual anticipation frames to really sell his overwhelmingly violent sense of speed. On top of everything though, the number one thing I love about Omni-Man is the Viltrumite stance. The way he dodges stuff is so sick, and the fact that he talks down on you when you miss an attack is peak mental damage. Boring. Omni-Man is practically perfect in my eyes. He's so well done and so cool. Then we have Homelander. Unlike Omni-Man, he doesn't have natural powers, nor is he very skilled. He was made in a lab and treated like a product rather than a person all his life, which fucked up his moral and emotional compasses beyond repair. He claims he doesn't value human life, yet he wants to be loved, revered, understood, feared, hated, praised, left alone. He doesn't know what he wants or when he wants it, and everyone else around him suffers as a result. Almost no one else can stand up to him due to his near limitless power. And the very few times he did go up against someone his own size, he ran like a bitch. Homelander has no idea how to fight, but because of how powerful he is, he never had to learn. All he has to do is laser someone or hit them lightly and they are dead right then and there. In fact, he uses his lasers for almost every conflict. Underneath the suit, however, are his crippling insecurities and inadequacies. He's a coward. So with all of that information, it presents an interesting challenge. How do you turn a guy who barely fights or knows how to fight into a fighting game character? It was the same question I had for Negan when he got announced for Tekken 7. Negan is very much capable of violence, but he doesn't do a lot in the source material to pull from. Same with Homelander, but Negan ended up being super sick and was my favorite character to play as in Tekken 7. Homelander isn't my favorite character in MK1, but I do think he's really cool. He's the only character that actively floats in his default stance, which is very fitting for his ego, especially this special move right here. He has a ton of laser moves, which makes perfect sense given that they're his primary weapon. They make up a few of his normals and more than half of his specials. He can laser on his knees, from the ground, and in the air, a lot like Supergirl. His overall screen control is insane. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat though, he's not the most fundamentally sound. A good chunk of his buttons have him flailing his limbs around that wouldn't be that powerful if a normal person pulled these off, but given how strong he inherently is, his powers make up the difference. Like this series of slaps or his jump 4. Not the most effective, but as long as he hits you, that's all that really matters, right? Whether it be a fair hit or a dirty one, like this one where he demolishes your eardrums, or this string where he is trying to push your eye in. What makes Homelander very unique though is his aerial flexibility. He can stay in the air for practically however long he wants, and he can go anywhere on screen. His command dash is one of the scariest multi-layered moves in the game. He can flight cancel any of his buttons with no limitation, making his combo structure one of a kind. The only other characters who can pull off something similar called float cancels are Ermac, Natara, and Sindel, and they can only do it from a select amount of moves. No other character in NRS history can do what Homelander can, not even Injustice characters, including Superman himself. Homelander is as special as he makes himself out to be. He is a surprisingly tricky character who could definitely cause early onset arthritis, but he is very rewarding to play. To wrap things up, a lot of the skepticism I saw regarding characters and how they'd play from the initial combat pack has almost completely dissolved. Every DLC character and cameo so far has been a breath of fresh air for the game, and I can't wait to talk about the entire pack in greater detail when Takeda finally comes out. When it comes to these two though, they are completely different, have their own sets of strength and weaknesses, and feel authentic to themselves. And I couldn't be any happier with how they turned out. That's enough from me though. I would love to hear all of your thoughts about Omni-Man and Homelander, either how they are as characters or how they ended up playing for you or anything else that comes to mind. Like and sub if you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.